نجاتنا فتمسكي بعراه كي لا نغرق.
Brother Kamal, he knows that, subhanAllah, my wife has this critical medical condition, and I don't usually now travel to Canada, but I receive invitations to come and speak, but because I want to stay with my wife and take care of her in this difficult time. But when Kamal Khan invited me, and I said I can't say no to Kamal Bai or ICNA Canada, so I came exclusively for you. Jazakumullah khair. All of the work that I've been doing over the last 15 years or more has been inspired by a beautiful saying from the Urdu language, which goes something like this: Zindagi bahut mukhtasar hai. Can someone translate for me? Life is very short. Jazakallah khair. Bahut Zindagi bahut mukhtasar hai. Alhamdulillah. So this means that I should try to do as much as I can in the little time that I have. And as I mentioned yesterday in the talk, that even if we live to be 100 years, it's still a short life. Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam didn't live 950 years. This is the time he spent in da'wah, but he died when he was 1,750 years old, as some of the ulama say. There's a hadith from Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in which he says that Nuh alayhi salam was asked before he died, 1,750 years old, how do you see your long life? And he said, Zindagi bahut mukhtasar hai. He said, my life was very short. It felt like someone who entered his house from the front door, stood a little bit in the living room, then exited from the back door. 1,750 years old. So we are miskeen if we live to be 60, 70, 80. It's still a short life. The sad reality is, maybe in another 50, 60, 70 years from today, most, if not all of the people in this place will not be around anymore. We will be in the Jannah and the Rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah. And maybe most people will not remember us. If you want a proof for my words, how often do you remember the people who lived and died 50, 60, 70 years ago? Not very often. So this is why we need to leave a legacy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, something to be remembered for. And the best legacy that you can do is to work in the field of da'wah. Imagine if just one person takes shahada because of you. The brothers were telling me about your work, ICNA Canada, how many people reach out, they need Quran, you ship it to them free, the book is free, you send thousands of copies, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. I did the easy part by translating the Quran. You guys are doing the difficult part, because this is something you do every day. I did it once, I'm done. You do it all the time. So when it comes to the clear Quran and da'wah, I'm just like the seat belt. You are the engine. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. So I'll give you a little bit of background of the Clear Quran project. It didn't happen overnight. So my story with the Clear Quran goes back to the year 1984. 1984. I was 7 years old, and I was not supposed to go to school. Because first of all, we didn't have a school in the village in Egypt, which is like 2-3 hours to the north of Cairo. And my father was completely against schools. Why? Because he just wanted me to be a farmer like everyone else in the village and everyone else in the family. But my mother, Jazallah khair, she put up a big fight with him. And she told him it's a shame that we are a family of so many and no one of us is educated. We can't read or write. So at the age of 7, I ended up going to Al-Azhar in a different village, 1 hour walking in the morning, 1 hour in the evening. Completed my hifz by the age of 12. Then 1997, I was 20 years old. I left the village and I moved to Cairo to study Islam in English, to become a da'i and imam in North America, to make da'wah in English, which is something good, alhamdulillah, but not good. Why? Because my English was in the basement back in 1997. I couldn't speak any English before the age of 20. So, subhanallah, let me give you a flavor of my suffering with the English language. So in high school, we didn't have the best English teachers at Al-Azhar. Anybody could teach English even if they didn't know how to speak English. So for example, they taught us in high school to say stomach instead of stomach. My biryani is so delicious, not delicious. I have extensive experience, exactly, language, all these things. But my all-time favorite was Naigabor. Naigabor. So what does Naigabor mean? Did you go to the same class? Naigabor turned out to be neighbor. Horrible, wallahi. My colleagues, they used to make fun of my English, and one night I was very frustrated. I made dua to Allah. I said, Ya Allah, Anta Rabbul Alameen, you created the heavens and the earth, you created Pakistan, you created India, the galaxies, alhamdulillah. So if you help me with my English, inshallah, I promise I'm going to use it to teach people about Islam and about the Quran. So that night I started listening to the BBC, reading Shakespeare, doing language exchange sessions with some American Muslims in Cairo. I teach them Arabic for free. They taught me English for free. 3 years later, alhamdulillah, I graduated top of the entire English department at Al-Azhar. And shortly after, they appointed me as a professor to teach Islam in English. Alhamdulillah. Takbir. Then I went on to get my master's, my PhD, alhamdulillah. And over the years, English was improving a lot until I accepted an imam job back in 2007 in South Carolina. And this is when my English started going down a big time. Because in South Carolina, this Southern English, they speak with a droll, horrible English. This is when I stayed for 4 years, Char. Then I ran away to Canada, and I stayed for about 12 years, alhamdulillah. So over the last 22 years, I translated the Quran 5 times. The first one was done back in 2002 from the studios of Haram in Mecca and the Haram in Medina. I would sit in the studios during Taraweeh, and me and a couple of my friends, we translate the Taraweeh, the subtitles, the 2 lines. They still use them till today. Behind Shuraym and Sudais and Hudayfi, every Ramadan. Then this was the second one, the Clear Quran. I did it in Toronto. I was in the cab with a non-Muslim driver. He said something bad about the Quran. It was a mistranslation. I corrected him. And this is when I decided to work on a clear, easy, accessible translation of the Quran to avoid any misunderstandings. Then we did the Clear Quran for kids. 4 volumes, about this size, 4 of them. And this is the first tafsir al-Quran that is edited by kids. I put together a team of 70 children between the ages of 7 to 14. They edited everything with me. We used stories, illustrations. We answered the difficult questions they ask. If Allah created everything, who created Allah? If shaitan is so evil, why did Allah create him in the first place? All these challenging questions. So we try to make it easy for them. Then, alhamdulillah, I did the Clear Quran dictionary, because 85% of Muslims don't speak or understand the Arabic language. Arabs make up only 15%. So I have to tell you the story behind the dictionary. It's an interesting story. 2016, I was in Toronto. I was the Imam of the Anatolia Islamic Center. And after Salatul Taraweeh, I will remember the night, the 12th night of Ramadan. We were doing Surah Yusuf, Para 12, Juz 12. And after Salah, this Pakistani guy, he came and he started yelling at me. Imam Sahab, aapke saath kya mushkil hai? He was very angry. I thought maybe the biryani was very spicy for iftar. Then it turned out that the guy, he was mad because he said he didn't speak the Arabic language. He couldn't understand the recitation. He stood for over an hour. And what bothered him the most was Arab people started to cry when the recitation was very emotional. But he couldn't understand the meaning, so he didn't know why they were crying. I said, Kui masla nahi, inshallah. Then I did some research. I realized that the Quran has only 2,000 root words, which is a very small number. If you want to speak English, you have to learn at least 5,000 words. But the Quran has only 2,000 words repeated 100,000 times. So if you study those 2,000 words, khalas, it becomes easy for you. At the end of the dictionary, I put a poem of 9 pages They rhyme. Every 2 lines rhyme. Those 9 pages have the 2,000 words of the Quran. If you study the 9 pages, khalas, no problem. You know everything in the book. I never saw this guy before. I never saw him after. But he will share the reward with me till Yawm al-Qiyamah. Allah will give him the reward for opening his mouth and saying something. May Allah reward him. Then I did the Clear Quran Made Easy, which is the first tafsir for new Muslims. Because what happens is, when people take Shahada, we hug them, we kiss them, takbir, takbir, then we throw them in the parking lot. With no follow-up and no support from the Muslim community, statistically, they say 40 to 60% of new Muslims, they leave in the first year. No support from the Muslim community, nobody's teaching them anything, their families throw them in the street, they lose their job, maybe they will end up with talaq. So it's very difficult for them. So we need the support of the Muslim community for the new Muslims to keep them in. Alhamdulillah. So I did the tafsir for them. I started working on the Clear Quran audiobook narration back in 2018. Because all the existing narrations back then, they were done by one guy, one man, in a very monotone way. In the name of Allah, blah, blah, blah. Very boring. I don't like to do more of the same. I wanted to do something, engaging, entertaining. So I decided to do a dramatized narration of the Clear Quran. So I put together a big team of shuyukh, imams, like Omar Sulaiman, Yazir Qadi, Yasmin Mujahid, Abdullah Hakim Quick, Sohaib Webb, all these shuyukh. And my first pick to narrate the translation was Morgan Freeman. I reached out to him through a Muslim agent. He agreed to do it. But for some reason, it didn't work out due to some legal issues in the US. We decided to get Mark Strong from the Raptors in Toronto to narrate the translation. So you can download the app. It's beautiful, mashallah. It's dramatized in the sense that when it talks about, let's say, the Battle of Badr, you will hear the horses and the swords in the background. If it's a question, it sounds like a question. They act out the narration in the translation. And we reserved the evil characters for a British guy. Things like Fir'aun and Iblis, it's done by a British guy. So we have voice talents from the US, the UK, and the US. It's a major production. It took us 6-7 years to finish. It was just released this Ramadan, and it cost us $250,000. It's a huge production, but it is worth it. And we have seen the results. A lot of people, alhamdulillah, took Shahada. I will just talk about this one for just 1 minute, and I'll be done, inshallah. Of all the books that I have written in the last 12 years, this is probably my favorite. It's called The Clear Seerah for Kids. And it has a story. So the story happened last year in Ramadan. I was touring the US and Canada. So I was living in Turkey at the time. I flew to Toronto, then I came to Edmonton, then I went to the US. I flew almost every day last year. According to Google report, 50,000 miles last year in Ramadan alone. So 25th of Ramadan, I was burned out. I was totally exhausted. But that night, the 25th of Ramadan last year, I had the most beautiful dream of my life. So I went to bed after Salatul Fajr. As soon as I closed my eyes, I had to catch a flight in about 3 hours. So I got like 10 minutes to sleep. So as soon as I closed my eyes, I slept. I started to have this dream, and I felt my body was being seized. Like when you get electrocuted, when you mess with the electricity. And I heard the words, "Chalo, chalo," like come with us, come with us. You are being escorted to present a gift copy of this book, The Clear Quran, as hadiyah to Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Now, do you want the short version of the dream or the long version? Long. Zindagi bahut mukhtasar hai. So the long version, I walked with them, long hallway. There's a big gate. They opened it, and Rasulullah was sitting on something like a throne. I didn't see him yet, but you can feel the light, you feel his presence. And there was a group of imams sitting with him. It's like a private meeting. And I knew one of them. I looked him in the eye, very tall imam from the US. I looked him in the eye, then I woke up. Then I texted him because I was mad. I couldn't see Rasulullah because of him. Sheikh Omar Sulaiman. He was that guy. He was sitting in the presence of Rasulullah in a private meeting with him. So I texted him, Sheikh Sulaiman, get out of the way, man. I couldn't see Rasulullah because of you. So he texted me back and he said he started crying when I sent him the message because of that honor being with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A week later, I moved back to Turkey, the night of Eid. I was very tired. I slept. I woke up, prayed Fajr. I wanted to get another half hour before I go for Eid. As soon as I slept, same thing happened. My body was being seized, like electrocuted, and zoom in. Rasulullah was standing right there. Allahu Akbar. So every time I tell the dream, I have those goosebumps. So for those of you who ask me to describe him, this is the last thing that I will say. Subhanallah, roundish face, not like a circle, but roundish, and the full beard, the turban. His shoulders were very broad. He was very masculine, very athletic. He was not short and he was not tall. Moderate build. And I was in a state of shock. I didn't expect it, so I was shocked. I couldn't open my mouth. I couldn't say anything. I just saw the smile on his face, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when I woke up, I said to myself, maybe this is an ishara that I've been working on this book for the last 12 years, every day 12 to 15 hours for the last 12 years. Now is the time to focus on the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So over the next year and a half, I worked on the Clear Seerah for Kids, 365 days with Rasulullah, 52 weekly themes. So we use illustrations, hundreds of stories from the life of Rasulullah and the Sahaba. And the point was to create this for Muslim students and kids to study it at schools or at home so they will appreciate the legacy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his Sahaba. So inshallah, if you want to buy any of these books, those who will ask me, give us the link. And you can go to our website, theclearquran.org, or the easy way. There's a Pakistani brother. He started a bookstore next to Akram Juma. His name is Muzaffar Bhai. He's a very good guy. And the name of the store is Iqra Books. Google it, Iqra Books. He will be there. He started in Ramadan, so he needs our support. So go there, buy books from him and support him. He's a very good guy. Jazakallah khair, barakallahu feekum, keep me and my family in dua. And again, Jazakallah khair to ICNA for hosting me. Assalamu alaikum.
هذا كتاب الله أعذب منهل أنعم به من مورد لمن استقام.